Hello, and welcome back to our journey through time. For billions of years, the ocean was the sole cradle of life on Earth. A vibrant, teeming world hidden beneath the waves, while the continents lay silent, barren, and empty. But the story of our planet was about to change forever. Life was preparing to make its most audacious move yet: the conquest of the land. Imagine a world you wouldn't recognize. Vast continents of rock and dust, baked by a harsh sun, with no soil, no trees, no sound but the wind and the crashing of waves. This was Earth, hundreds of millions of years ago. The oceans were full of life, but the land was a desert. How did this desolate rock transform into the green world we know today? The first pioneers were microscopic and humble. There were cyanobacteria and algae living in the shallow coastal waters. For millions of years, they clung to the edge, flirting with the shore at high tide, getting splashed by waves. These tiny organisms were already masters of photosynthesis, turning sunlight into energy. Slowly, tentatively, some of them began to survive longer periods out of the water. A thin green film started to stain the wet rocks along the coastline. This was it. This was the beachhead. It wasn't a dramatic invasion with crawling creatures, but a silent, creeping conquest. These early pioneers faced incredible challenges. Without water to support them, gravity was a crushing force. The sun's unfiltered ultraviolet radiation was lethal, and worst of all, they would dry out and perish. For life to truly conquer the land, it needed a revolution in design. And that revolution came in the form of the first true plants. Picture the scene around 470 million years ago. Descendants of those green algae began to develop new survival tools. They evolved a waxy outer layer, a cuticle, to lock in moisture and protect themselves from the sun. They developed tiny pores called stomata that could open to breathe in carbon dioxide and close to prevent water loss. These weren't towering trees. They were more like modern-day mosses and liverworts, small, flat, and hugging the damp ground near rivers and estuaries. They had no true roots or leaves, but they were alive, on land. They began to spread, forming a green carpet over the wet earth. And as they did, they became the planet's first ecosystem engineers. Their bodies, as they died and decomposed, mixed with weathered rock to create the very first soil. This new substance could hold water like a sponge, creating a more stable and nurturing environment for more plants to grow. These humble, ground-hugging plants were terraforming an entire planet. They were changing the very air itself, pumping out oxygen and drawing down carbon dioxide, slowly cooling the global climate. With the creation of soil and a more hospitable atmosphere, the stage was set for Act 2 of the Green Invasion. Plants began to evolve new, more complex structures. The next big innovation was vascular tissue, a system of internal plumbing that could transport water and nutrients from the ground up to the rest of the plant. This was a game changer. It allowed plants to stand upright, to grow taller, and to fight against gravity for better access to sunlight. The first small leafless stems, like the famous Cooksonia, began to pepper the landscape. Then came roots, anchoring the plant firmly in the soil and drawing up water more efficiently. And then leaves unfolded, creating solar panels to capture even more sunlight. By about 385 million years ago, in the Devonian period, the world saw something truly new: the first forests. These weren't the forests we know today. They were strange, alien-looking places filled with giant fern-like trees, towering club mosses, and horsetails the size of trees. For the first time in Earth's history, the wind whispered through leaves. The land was no longer silent. It had a voice. But plants weren't the only pioneers. Wherever a new opportunity arises in nature, life rushes to fill it. With a new world of food and shelter created by plants, the animals followed. The first land animals weren't vertebrates with backbones, but invertebrates, the ancestors of insects, spiders, and scorpions. They likely arrived on land around the same time as the first simple plants, feeding on the decaying plant matter and microscopic organisms in the damp soil. Imagine tiny wingless creatures, primitive springtails, and mite-like arachnids crawling through the mossy carpets. For millions of years, the land was a world of crawling things. But then, another incredible evolutionary leap occurred. Sometime around 350 million years ago, one group of insects developed the most amazing adaptation: wings. It's hard to overstate how revolutionary flight was. Suddenly, these creatures could escape predators, find mates, and travel vast distances to colonize new territories. The air, which had been empty for billions of years, was now filled with the buzz and whir of wings. Dragonflies, with wingspans of over 2 feet, hunted through the ancient forests, while other winged insects explored the new world of flowers and leaves that was unfolding. The greening of the planet had a profound impact that reached far beyond the continents. As plants spread, their roots broke down rocks, accelerating a process called chemical weathering. This process pulled massive amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, causing a significant global cooling event and even triggering ice ages. The world was becoming a cooler, wetter, and more oxygen-rich place, perfect conditions for even larger and more complex life to evolve. The invasion of land wasn't just about life adapting to a new environment. It was about life fundamentally remaking the planet in its own image. From a silent film of algae on wet rock to the roar of ancient forests teeming with buzzing insects, the colonization of land was one of the most pivotal chapters in Earth's history. It transformed a barren wasteland into a living, breathing biosphere. It created the soil beneath our feet, the air we breathe, and the complex ecosystems that support all terrestrial life, including, eventually, us. The world had been born from the ocean, but now the land itself was truly alive. This green revolution set the stage for the next great act, the age of giant amphibians, reptiles, and the dinosaurs that would come to rule this new, vibrant world. Picture this: our planet, no longer a barren rock, but a vibrant, living world. Endless forests stretch as far as the eye can see, a deep green blanket covering the continents. The air hums with the buzz of insects, the first pioneers of the sky. The Earth is truly alive, breathing, and pulsing with new energy. But hold on, the greatest revolution is yet to come. Down in the murky depths of swamps and ancient rivers, a silent transformation is taking place. Fins are slowly, generation by generation, becoming legs. Gills are making way for primitive lungs. A new kind of creature, a brave adventurer, is about to make history. It's preparing to take a monumental step, a step out of the water and into a whole new world. The age of land animals is dawning. Stay with us as we witness the incredible moment life conquered the continents. Imagine a world painted in green, not the green of cities and parks, but a primordial green. Mosses carpeted the rocks, ancient ferns unfurled their fronds, and the first forests began to stretch their roots deep into the soil, reaching for the sun. Continents, once barren, were now wrapped in a living, breathing blanket of green. But this was just the surface story. Beneath the water, in the murky depths of swamps and the slow-moving currents of shallow rivers, a revolution was quietly brewing. Evolution, the silent architect of life, was drafting its next masterpiece. In these aquatic nurseries, a certain group of lobe-finned fish were on the verge of a destiny they could not comprehend. Their fins, once delicate structures for navigating water, began to change. They grew thicker, bonier, more robust. They weren't just for swimming anymore. They were becoming limbs, tools for pushing against the muddy riverbeds, for anchoring themselves in the shifting currents. It was a subtle shift, but one that would change the course of history. At the same time, another incredible adaptation was taking place inside their bodies. The world above the water was rich with an untapped resource: oxygen. These fish began to develop primitive lungs, simple sacs that could gulp air from the surface when the water grew stagnant and low in oxygen. They were living a double life, part fish, part something, new. They could breathe in the water, and they could breathe in the air. This dual ability gave them a crucial advantage, a ticket to a world no vertebrate had ever known. For millions of years, this process continued. Generation after generation, fins became stronger, more like legs, lungs became more efficient. Senses adapted to perceive a world not filtered through water but through air. Then, one fateful day, driven by curiosity, competition, or the simple search for food, one of these creatures did the unthinkable. It pushed itself up, hauled its body out of the familiar comfort of the water, and flopped onto the damp alien Earth. This single act was one of the most profound and pivotal moments in the 4-billion-year history of our planet. It was the birth of the amphibians, the pioneers who dared to leave the ocean behind. Picture the scene: the air, heavy and thick with moisture, a stark contrast to the dense embrace of water. The ground beneath them, a strange and unstable mix of mud and plant debris. Gravity, a relentless force they had never truly felt before, pulling down on their bodies. It was a hostile and challenging new reality, but these trailblazers were built to adapt. Their skin, while needing to stay moist, was tough enough to prevent them from drying out completely. Their newly developed lungs worked overtime, pulling life-giving oxygen from the sky, and their hearts, a marvel of evolutionary engineering, grew stronger, developing new chambers to pump blood with enough force to defy gravity and circulate through their bodies on land. They were the first true land vertebrates. From that one hesitant step onto the shore, a floodgate of evolutionary possibility swung wide open. The land, once the exclusive domain of plants and insects, was now a new frontier for vertebrates. Soon, the primordial silence of the continents was broken. The air, once filled only with the whisper of the wind, now buzzed with the flight of dragonflies the size of eagles and countless other insects. The swamps and forests echoed with the guttural croaks and calls of amphibians, a brand new symphony of life. A new stage was set for the timeless drama of predator and prey. This eternal dance, once confined to the world's oceans, now played out across the vast landscapes of the continents. New hunting strategies evolved, new defenses were developed. Life on land became a complex web of interactions, a dynamic and ever-changing ecosystem. The Earth was no longer a quiet green and blue marble. It was alive. It pulsed with sound, vibrated with movement, and throbbed with the collective heartbeat of millions of new species, each finding its place in this brave new world. Think about the sheer audacity of it. Life, born in the gentle cradle of the ocean, had risen from the depths to conquer the land. This incredible journey from a fin to a foot, from a gill to a lung, demonstrates the relentless creative power of evolution. It shows that with enough time, life can overcome any barrier, colonize any environment, and transform the very face of a planet. The emergence of amphibians wasn't just about one creature crawling onto the shore. It was about life itself claiming a new kingdom. And this was only the beginning. These amphibious pioneers paved the way for the reptiles, who would in turn give rise to the dinosaurs, and eventually to us. Every step you take on solid ground is a testament to the courage of those first land explorers. So the next time you see a frog by a pond or hear the chirping of crickets at night, remember the epic story they represent. They are the living descendants of the heroes who took that first monumental step, transforming Earth into the vibrant, dynamic, and wonderfully noisy world we know today. The conquest of the land had begun, and the story of life on Earth would never be the same. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as amazing as we do, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the incredible history of our planet. Let us know